I started my fourth voyage story. My friends said I was so rich and happy after my third voyage, but my heart could not rest. The call of the sea, the lure of trade, and the thrill of discovering strange lands pulled me once again. So, I set my affairs in order, packed up fine goods, and began my journey through the Persian provinces. From a distant seaport, I took ship once more, and for some time, all went well. But fate, as always, had other plans. A fierce hurricane struck us. The sea rose like a monster, waves smashing against our vessel. Our brave captain did all he could, but the ship broke apart. Many of my companions drowned in the storm. I was lucky enough to cling to a piece of the wreck, and after being tossed about for hours, I was washed ashore with a few survivors on a nearby island. Exhausted, we threw ourselves on the sand and waited for daylight. When the morning came, we wandered inland and soon saw huts. As we approached, black-skinned islanders came swarming out, surrounding us. They took us prisoner and divided us among their tribe. I was taken with 5 others into a hut. They made us sit and offered us herbs to eat, but something seemed wrong. They did not eat the herbs themselves. I only pretended to eat, while my companions, weak from hunger, ate everything. Soon, to my horror, they went mad laughing, shouting nonsense, their eyes wild. The islanders then brought bowls of rice cooked in coconut oil. My poor companions devoured it eagerly. I understood at once. These people were fattening us for their own feast. I ate almost nothing, growing thinner each day, while my unfortunate friends grew plump and lost their lives one after another. Since I became too lean to tempt them, they let me move about freely. One day, when the men had gone on a hunt, leaving only an old guard behind, I saw my chance. I slipped away, running as fast as I could into the forest. The old man shouted for me to return, but fear gave wings to my feet. For 7 days, I fled through the jungle, surviving on coconuts that gave me both food and drink. On the 8th day, I reached the seashore and saw white men gathering pepper. You can imagine my joy. When I greeted them in Arabic, they answered in the same tongue. Never had human speech sounded so sweet to my ears. I told them my story. They were amazed and said, "You are lucky to have escaped, for those black men are cannibals." They took me to their country and presented me to their king, who treated me with kindness and curiosity. The island was beautiful, full of people, trade, and riches. I soon felt at home, and the king often showed me favor. But one thing struck me as strange. None of them used bridles or stirrups when riding horses. So I made a saddle, bit, and spurs with the help of local craftsmen and presented them to the king. When he rode with these new things, he was delighted and rewarded me generously. Soon, everyone at court wanted saddles, and I became a wealthy man once again. One day, the king said to me, "Sindbad, we all love you here. I want you to stay with us forever. I shall find you a rich and beautiful wife." I could not refuse the king's command, so I married as he wished. My wife was kind, and life went on peacefully, though in my heart I longed for Baghdad. Then one day, the wife of one of my neighbors died. I went to comfort him, but he said something that froze my blood. "Do not pity me," he said. "Before the sun sets, I too shall die. It is our law that the living husband is buried with his dead wife, and the living wife with her dead husband." Before I could even grasp the horror of his words, the funeral began. The woman's body, dressed in jewels, was laid in a pit. Then the living husband, wrapped in black, was lowered beside her with 7 loaves of bread and a pitcher of water. The pit was sealed with a stone. I was horrified and spoke to the king. "Sire," said I, "in all my travels, I have never seen a custom so cruel." The king only smiled. "It is our law," he said. "Even I would be buried with the queen if she were to die first. And yes, Sindbad, this law applies to foreigners too." From that moment, I lived in fear. Each time my wife coughed, I trembled. My worst fear came true. She fell sick and died. There was no escape. Her body was placed upon a bier, and I, her living husband, was led to the pit with bread and water. The king and nobles watched in silence as I was lowered into the darkness. When the stone rolled into place, I found myself among heaps of bones and bodies. A faint light entered through a crack above. I could hear faint sighs others who had come before me. Despair overwhelmed me. I cursed my greed and my restless love for travel that had led me here. At last I sat quietly, eating sparingly from my bread and water. Then one day, another corpse was lowered, a man this time, and soon his living wife followed, half dead with terror. In a desperate act to save myself, I struck her with a bone, ending her suffering and taking her food and water. I did this more than once, clinging to life in that terrible place. One day, I heard breathing near me a creature. When I moved, it fled through a narrow crack in the rock. I followed, crawling for what felt like miles until I saw daylight. At last, I emerged upon the seashore. I was free. I returned to the cavern, gathered as many jewels as I could carry, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and waited on the beach. On the third day, I spotted a ship. I waved and shouted, and the sailors, seeing me, sent a boat. I told them I had been shipwrecked and showed them my bundles. They believed me and took me aboard. The captain treated me kindly, refusing to take payment. Our voyage was good, and after trading in many lands, we reached Baghdad. I returned home, richer than ever before. Once again, I gave generously to the poor, to the mosques, and feasted with my friends. So, this is the end of my fourth voyage. The guests listened in awe. They agreed this voyage had been the most thrilling yet. Sindbad, as always, received his 100 sequins and was invited to return the next day for the tale of the fifth voyage.